Okay.
It's okay.
I think that we can start. It will be time for lunch, and I think that we will have some discussions because now when we talk about circular economy, you have different options. So let's see first what is circular economy according to the definition of European Parliament is a model of production and consumption which involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling existing materials and products as long as possible. We are talking about the circular economy everywhere. When we are about algae, then we prefer to use the term bioeconomy. So what are the benefits? Waste recycling, reducing pressure on the environment, what is now very important, and everything should be environmentally friendly. Reducing waste, we secure supply of raw material, stimulating innovation and boosting economic growth. Actually, there are different options. And now what? Oh, okay. So there are different options for use of algae. Maya wrote a lot of this, so I think that we will more discuss about this. I can mention first normal use of algae, metabolites as algae such as various pigments, biostimulants, omega-3 fatty acids or the polyunsaturated fatty acids, enzymes, vitamins, minerals, and many more. And this wide palette of high-value products is used in food and nutraceuticals, pharmaceutical, cosmetical, biofuel, and other industry. These are some products of algae. So some of them, they are attractive because some of them has high price. Some like biodiesel are still under development, but also it opens some area for diversification of products, and every day we have some new products. When we are talking about algae, where we start, because when we produce algae and have final product that I show until now, actually it is not a circular economy. This is just production of algae because of something. But if we use, for example, if we produce biofuel, then we can have waste of algae from algae that could be used for active carbon or, for example, fertilizers. Most often we are talking about wastewater remediation with algae. So there are different papers on this with such titles. Here are just some of them, like continuous cultivation of microalgae in kettle slaughterhouse, wastewater treating with hydrodynamic cavitation. Okay, when we use wastewater for algae farming, then it is questionable for what they can be used. This is very nice to read such papers. It looks very satisfactory, but then when we are around wastewater, we have a lot of.
Excuse me, just wanna send the PDF file if you want to start.
PDF.
Yeah, because
okay
they cannot see the whole slide. They cannot see the whole slide, so
I think that it's okay because.
Well, we will try. Just a second.
And what now?
And again, share. Just to find it.
I think that it is same.
Just a second. Yes. Okay.
No, you can go.
Just a second. This is
I'm held on my
this is
own
the
slide.
old
Тут є PDF. А то вмієш мені. То отворю на старий.
Старый. Да.
Момент. Pardon.
Значит,
Дай мне, дай и готово. Нужно без молча. Check.
Now it looks good.
It's perfect now. Thank you, Sergio.
Can
Thank you,
you
Anna.
forward the slides?
it's
Yeah,
okay.
perfect.
I think that it's okay. So there are different advantages, but then we have to see for what we can use it. And usually, actually, I would tell that this use of algae, especially for treatment of wastewater, is complicated process that require knowledge of physiology and ecology of certain type of algae and the chemical and biological properties of wastewater. So it will depend. So there is no ideal situation, and it is always necessary to include some processes such as bacterial sterilization of wastewater, or to have certain ingredients which usually doesn't represent high cost, or to separate them from waste water, which is always more expensive and can corrupt the economical profitability of the entire process. Maybe we can more discuss about it and the possibilities on some examples. Here is one example, as we are aquaculturists. I'm sorry you are listening this today all day, but where we can include algae in circular economy. So it is in the part of aquaponic. For those who doesn't know what is aquaponics, actually this is aquaculture plus hydroponics. Hydroponics, I think that you know that it is farming of plants with dissolved fertilizer. In this case, when we use aquaculture or fish waste water, what this waste could be solids, liquid waste, and also it could be CO2. Then this combination of hydroponics and wastewater from aquaponics, aquaculture, we actually call aquaponics. And so the main concept, it could be used in different farming systems actually, but the best is in RAS, recirculation aquaculture system, where we have high densities and where we have controlled water. So it's usually to farm different plants, but it is also possible, as algae are plants, to farm algae on these waters. And in one thing, we are using complete waste from algae. Even these processes can be different. I show one ideal process. Let's tell this is aquaculture system, and this is uncoupled system. So we have a profitable production of fish and water that is exchanged per day up to 10%, usually 5 to 8. It is mud with a bit of water. Actually, it can be taken out from the system. Aquaculture farmers have a problem with this because you have to pay to remove your waste to the company who is registered for this. So in this case, we can use this water with radial flow settler or some other type of mechanical filtration where we can use a supernatant directly in hydroponic greenhouse. The rest can go to aerobic stabilization with bacteria. After that, wetlands, and then the rest of clear water can go to hydroponic. This is some ideal situation where we can completely use wastewater, and sometimes after this hydroponics where here algae would be, we need some parts of anaerobic biofiltration, or some nitrates can stay in the water, so you need to clean even this water to to send it to recipient. So this showed on the scheme. Actually, this hydroponic greenhouse can be shown here. It is not important that is spices, lettuce, tomato, or algae. It is similar, but we need to balance and no chemical composition of water. The point is, I don't know if you know about wastewater from aquaculture, but mainly these are uneaten food and uneaten food and feces. So this part is usually in a recirculation system cleaned first by mechanical filtration. Part of this is dissolved because fish feed has a lot of proteins. These proteins are разграđeni, decomposed in the system still. And first we have ammonia. Ammonia is toxic for fish, but for plants not in the system. It is degraded or transformed to nitrates on biological filter. Then also in the system we can have CO2 sparger. CO2 spargers because fish is breathing, and this CO2 can be taken and spent to sent to hydroponic greenhouse or aquaponic or algae production actually. So in this system we can use part of solid waste or wastewater with a lot of solid waste that is mineralized, and we can use CO2. And in this case, production of algae is included in primary, let's tell, fish production in aquaculture. And such facilities have to have two different feasible, economically feasible facilities or productions. Then when we are around, these are just examples. I think that we can more discuss about this. And as many of algae are used as a food, then we are coming to food regulation and to novel food. And even we know that a lot of algae species, 150 algae species was identified that were eaten or used for food, but only 20% are approved under the EU novel food legislation. 20%. This is what I found. You have different data?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay, which are yours?
It's at least 10%, 11% of 150. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't actually, I took it as it was written. I didn't calculate how many of them. I think that around 20 is on the list, 20 and something.
No, there are not 20. right now they have rated like 16, I think, in total.
Okay.
But we're talking about different strain. 16 strain. For example,
Okay.
for chlorella, there are 3 different strains. But chlorella is one genus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and each strain has to be approved actually.
Yeah.
And should be on QPS or QPS or grass list in US.
Yeah.
And so this means that every algae has to be approved. Sorry if this author, this was the newest paper. I took paper from the end of 200.
Actually, it's a good news. Right? This is true.
2022, so I'm not, I didn't calculate.
Yeah, but the next one will be 2026.
I have- Yeah, I didn't count it. I just, I think that last one was approved maybe 2 months.
2015.
No, we had another approval, I think it was.
No, it was few months ago, one strain was approved.
Yeah, I had a strain approval, I think it was, the same is even.
Yeah,
Was it-
Yes.
this was
Yeah, the Portuguese were pressured to approve it. But I will say something, what I took from there is that from 2022, that's from the Gavrilovic company. I think maybe what's happening here is that they're considering different strains, but I was part of taking this data and we were looking for as what the EU novel food legislation look for. That's not it's not just strain, but it's the species that are producing on that region.
No, every strain that first should be also genetically determined, sent to the bank, and then we will see at the end how many strains will be there, because you have one name for your strain. I sent it for registration under another name. Then you make sequencing, and we will see at the end how many strains will be in the bank. I really don't know, but
I think it's
some-
on species. This 20% is on species from the until 2022. What were already approved.
well, then I'm
But I think it's not as good, but it's as
I
good
didn't
as supplement.
calculate, so I took this as it was written 20%. So I think around, I didn't put here a list with approved species and I didn't calculate it. So if they are wrong, I'm wrong, I'll give you then reference from which they took this.
I think
And-
it was ours reference.
Yours reference. So this is your fault, or I don't know, but and then so as market is growing, actually there are different problems for legislation or administrative work of this. Besides, so first of all, first facility have to be registered. When we are talking about food safety, it should be, it has microbiologic requirements according to food safety legislation. So no bacteria or microbiologically should be fit for human consumption. No toxins, no chemicals, heavy metals, pesticides, PCBs, dioxins. We have maximal permitted level, no radioactivity. I think that I didn't.
Where do you get radioactivity?
You have it.
Really?
Yeah, for food, you have it also listed less than 600 becquerels, I think. But as we have monitoring of environment, you don't need, for some areas, you don't need them to perform your own analysis, because governments, our governments are taking care of this. But in regulation, if they find it, then it would be problematic, because you have how many becquerels it could have also. And what we have, HACCP, food safety and traceability. So what HACCP is, first SSOP. SSOP are standard sanitation operational procedures. This is something what make problem to algae farmers because they have facility, they are producing something, and then you need to have facility for algae processing and packaging for the market. First of all, they need to be according to labeled, according to, this is food sanitation law, still from 2002 with some changes, but it should be labeled. SSOP, standard sanitation operational procedures, means that hygiene again should be.
Anna, can you hear me?
Yes.
It'd be fine to interrupt you just for a moment. I think that Robert wants to say something or ask something, Robert.
Yeah, okay, yes, it could also have been at the end, but no, I just wanted to comment on the novel food registration, the non-novel foods, the two kinds of species. And what I wanted to say, I see the major regulation problem not in the food yet. I see it in the end of waste story, because the water from fishery is a waste, and end of waste products have to be determined first. But we probably will have a discussion at the end. Sorry.
I think this is actually, I put it more to be more as a discussion, because there are different products and different problems. And what I saw that this food safety is actually the not administrative and for registration of different algae, but many of producers are chlorella producers, and they still have problems with or the biggest problem, more than 60%, as I know, they are chlorella producers, and their biggest problem is to fit to these food safety regulations if they are going into, if they are using their algae for food industry. And this is hygiene, this is facilities that need to have fulfill requirements first, then HACCP programs that should be used correctly, and then traceability. This is something what is for them problem, mainly facilities doesn't require, doesn't fulfill all these simple requirements for food safety. I would stop here, and I think that we can discuss about this. So.
My first question is why food safety? I mean, if you are going to circular production of fish, I would use it for feed instead of food.
For feed?
Yeah.
Okay, for animal feed.
Rid of food
No,
safety.
no, you have, okay, food, feed, safety requirements. We have also, we have food sanitation law for food.
Yeah.
Human food. For, we call feed, animal feed, but animal feed has same regulations actually according to veterinary part. You need again registered facility, you need again, you have maximal permitted levels, you have again HACCP, you have again traceability and SSOP.
Okay.
Unfortunately, yes, food or feed is similar. Animal feed or food, you have same requirements.
Starting from this point that you have enough production plants, you must have this kind of state rule, because otherwise you cannot.
Yes,
keep the
you are
market.
registered, but then when they are going to, when they are checked microbiologically, So
Well,
all of
we
them
are-
has HACCP implemented, but there
Right.
are microbiological problems with their products.
Yes.
This is, so rules are here, you satisfied rules, but in the practice, there are problems.
Well, in the products, everyone, I think, have to overcome this problem. Because as the presentation before, says we don't have academic culture in any way. For
Yes.
food safety, we have limits.
Yes, maximum permitted levels.
There is a maximum,
Limits.
and you have to be down. on
Yes.
this one. Everyone made his own solution. I have my own, and I be on the limit, below the limit. Even if I use a bioproduct from fish, from brewery, actually. The I think, in this part, is just the cost of biomass at the end of the day. Because if you are competitive in such way for feed, food, or whatever, then you have a possibilities to enter in this kind of flux of market. But we are not in that part. And I think the most problem is in that part. I mean, in the production cost. Because you can overcome somehow, I have a patent on it, so I can I overcome this problem with my patent. But still, I'm not competitive in terms of cost. And this is
So,
the problem.
yes.
This is the real problem. In order if you have an industry, algae industry, we should overcome the problem of the production cost. I think that your presentation could be one of the solution or one part of the solution because circularity, it must be a reply of our problem right now. Because if one part of the stream is to let's say overcome the problem of feed, food, or whatever, in the other part, or in other eye, if you want, we run out of minerals, and we had a problem with nitrogen. We had a problem with phosphorus. So,
Yes.
in this optic, I will see the solution in your circularity flow.
So, okay,
No, it's another discussion, and I
yes, yes,
I see my point.
yes, I
Well,
agree.
Because there is a question, what kind of waste it is? Is it really wastewater with feces inside, or is it just a side stream from, food production that has the
Yes.
nutrients, but it's not so, with so many microbiology.
Microbiologically,
Yeah.
and what to do, so what will you hear from
Okay,
me?
I finished
My
my
ideas.
my rationale.
What- Yes, I
You
agree.
have
This is-
3 points to see. Well, in the flow of your business, let's say, of fish, producing fish, you say that you have to pay to treat your
Trademark,
wastewater.
yes, wastewater.
Okay, then, if you treat it with microalgae, then you can save money from treating waste. And this is the point that are real right now.
Yes,
It's just real right now. Because if you goes in the direction that you want to produce microalgae for other purpose, you are stopped by regulation that are not that could not be overcome in a few years, I think, because of regulation.
when
And you
you,
are stopped. Because if you produce microalgae from wastewater, you cannot use for food, you cannot use for feed, you cannot use somehow in a different other field. Maybe right now agriculture field, you can use in the agricultural field.
Maybe Elena has
No.
something
No.
to add.
Tell something that I
Actually, you can also not just use it as fertilizer, there's also regulations. I think surprisingly one of the least, if I'm correct, but I'm also looking at other producers here, one of the least regulated areas is the health supplements, which to me is mysterious. But that they don't fall under the food law.
They are going to pharmaceutical rules.
No,
No.
they're also not under the pharmaceutical. They're actually
Supplements
kind
have-
of, you don't know what you get when you eat these things generally, so.
Supplements
Point to keep in
it's
mind.
like the limbo of the laws, like it's not pharmaceutical, it's not food.
Yeah.
And you can push some supplements easier than you can push food or feed.
And they're
Okay,
expensive.
that's true, but again, you need to have permission to use that.
Yeah, you'll have.
So
And
anyhow,
you, as a
and
producer, you're still under.
the point is,
They
it
still
is,
want you to actually make sure that you have a good.
it is same as a recirculation system. Even in Croatia, if you go, it depends from county to county, what they will ask you for. So local government need to give you building permission. And it will depend on local government, if they will ask you to have it on agricultural land, or you can use some industrial zones. This is the same. I checked food supplements for in few different countries, how they are permitted. And requirements varies.
Yeah,
They
the
are
EU
accepted,
law is
but-
quite lax on it.
Probably because these are extracts, and for extracts.
Yeah, that was my next
it's not,
question. Huh?
Yes.
What happens to highly refined, if you just go for pigments or just go for this?
And this is the solution. I mean, this is
What is
my solution in
Okay.
terms of production side. I recirculate brewery, for example, bioproduct, because it's not wastewater. This is
What?
really
I
important.
Especially.
And
for
then
ethanol.
with the biomass, I can extract pigment, but not use directly to the food industry. This is my way to valorize the biomass producing by a bioproduct.
Okay, yes, I understand. Some things are not, but if we are talking about this part of aquaculture or production, what about pasteurization? If it doesn't, if you don't have heavy metals, for example, fish doesn't have heavy metals, that doesn't have because cannot be farmed in this, and your contamination is coming to microbiological contamination.
Well,
And other possibilities to remove this.
No, I just have a question. Are you familiar probably with integrated multi-trophic aquaculture?
Yes.
So they use it mostly in marine, but they also use it in fresh
In
water.
fresh water.
Some people even put the algae directly to the fish, so
And yes,
you any
if they put it,
experience with
algae in fish, but this is not a farming algae, this is
no, sure, but
green water technology and so on. So this algae are here just to keep water quality, let's tell better, not
fish do not eat it.
not to be used. And multi-trophic aquaculture is when you have in different systems, they are connected to each other. But you have different, for example, you have fish cages, after fish on the bottom, you have sea cucumbers and sea urchins to eat bio-waste and detritus, detritus cucumbers eat, and plants that are there on the bottom or on the cages, it could be eaten by sea urchins. And then dissolved waste, what is nitrogen, phosphorus, is used by algae for algae growth. And this primary production actually is, or of algae is used by bivalve. And this is what we can call multi-trophic aquaculture. If you put it in the same space, then definition is polyculture. But this is green water technology. But in this case, algae are used just to give better water quality.
But for bivalves, it's okay, it is, you know,
No, it's okay.
for regulations are okay.
Regulations for bivalves in
use this
open
algae.
waters, this is what you can use in open waters. You can use this because if bivalve is going to the market, bivalve are those who has to be checked. And the problem in open waters are toxic algae, algae toxins. So, but I think that there are solutions for even for greenhouses on the wastewater, at least.
Yeah, because
If you, heavy metals are a problem. I don't see that microbiology could be problem. You can use it with parts of different types of disinfection, or simply if you have bacteria that are not producing toxins, or if these toxins are thermolabile, then you can pasteurize algae.
yeah,
Then
because
we have to go to processing further, not algae, dry algae and nothing to do. Then processing has to come with pasteurization or some other type, what I heard that they use electrostatic field to remove bacteria. So it is possible to be feasible. And the problem of farmers is first, we need to know solutions. What are solutions for processing, to preserving algae, dry algae, and then to introduce it to farmers, because solution exists, but they need some time, and then it will take some time to show it to the producers. This is what I think.
And actually, you reply to the question as well. I mean, it depends what you are gonna do with the biomass, of course. In terms of dry product, you just stabilize with the driving, and you must of course make the analysis of every metal. If you have every metal, there is no
Okay, you can
possibilities.
forget
just-
it. You will use it maybe for biodiesel one day when
But
it
biodiesel, it's not, I mean,
Yes,
I heard
not
about biodiesel. It's not feasible. I
no,
mean, it's
still is not
15
feasible. This
years.
is what I told.
Yeah,
Yes, it is still not feasible. So now we can talk about microalgae or biofuels of fourth generation, where we have this genetically modified. Maybe they will give some results, but first generation are feasible now. This with microalgae generation, I mean, first was from soya and other plants, the second was from waste, normal plants waste, and then we started 20-30 years ago with the microalgae, and still we are talking about this, but it is not feasible. So that's why I'm talking about food or food and feed. Let's tell, and this is all what can be at this moment feasible. But if we try it, we will stabilize it. But still, when we close package, we need some type of pasteurization, because it is same with other products, also with fish, what I know. At least the Listeria monocytogenes can come, so there is a listericide process that is low pasteurization on hermetically closed product. So there are some possibilities, or this electric pasteurization in electrical field. Yes, but we need to tell it to farmer, and actually we need to develop it. And then we can show it to farmers.
Again, it depends on what you are gonna do with the biomass, because there are different industrial procedures in order to overcome this problem. Pasteurization, in my view, is not an option.
Right.
Because you will degrade a lot of nutrients. And if you go in that direction that you sell the biomass for nutrients and then go to pasteurized, well, it's just a marketing and nothing else.
Pasteurization will not, even milk is not losing it, but depends how do you perform the
Milk is fine
pasteurization.
properly traded, not pasteurized a lot of time.
Anna, sorry, sorry to interrupt. There are questions also online. Maybe if you can continue with the discussion. Robert was raising his hand and has a question.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I would say there are several issues that I wanted to talk about. One is of course the real technical or scientific issues that you are talking about. Heavy metals are an issue. The solution to heavy metals is only two-stage processing. So in the first stage of algae treatment, you remove the heavy metals, and in the second stage, you deal with the rest. That is an option that has been done, not really very attractive because of the cost, but sounds good. I see what needs to be addressed here is the regulatory issues. Like it was already mentioned, even for the agriculture, we are not allowed to use cyanobacteria, for example. They are not legal for European registered agricultural products. That's a stupid regulation, but there it is. For the feed, the regulation is similar to food. The issue is that the practical issue is that well, it's even slightly more complicated because of the prion story and the re-entering the food chain. But the practical issue is that feed is more complicated in reality because nobody knows what is the regulation in detail. So in principle, it's the same as for food, but it's much harder to get feed approval than the food approval. And the paradoxical situation, the food additives are the simplest to be approved, not the pharmaceuticals. That's a much more complicated story. So here the regulation is an issue, an obstacle, and in several European projects we are now, and in several associations, we are now addressing this issue that at least what we need to do, let's say as a community, is to make those kind of obstacles explicit. So to work on preparing stories how certain people manage to pass through the regulation in a feasible way. And this is now active in European Algae Biomass Association. It's now active within the EU4Algae project and in several European Horizon projects. So these kind of activities are ongoing. It's just more complicated than the HACCP. For example, the HACCP comes from the same story. You can have HACCP, but HACCP is a self-imposed regulation. You specify key checkpoints. The problem is that there is no, let's say, common knowledge. What are the checkpoints for algae cultivation? So at the end, I can specify. I can write my HACCP rules myself. I will write them so that my biomass fits. But is it safe? Nobody knows. For milk, everybody knows what are the right HACCP rules. So HACCP for a milk production is something that is established and means something. For algae, Nobody knows. I mean, Antonio there has different rules than I have. Maybe because we are friends, we coordinate, but there are French Pirunier who have their own rules, and they produce a lot of biomass that is artisanal. To say it's a different word that means that is mostly microbiologically compromised. But they produce it under their own rules, and they are esteemed producers because, you know, organic, local, everything fits. So we have a lot of work in the algae industry to make, first of all, some kind of standardization, voluntarily or not, and second, some kind of, let's say, recipes, success stories, and to educate administration in each of the authorities what are algae. I mean, we now even don't know if we fit into under aquaculture or we fit under agriculture. You know, if you come to Slovenian legislation, they put you into agriculture because that's slightly more regulated than aquaculture. We don't have much. European-wide, it seems that we fit under aquaculture, but again, we are using land space. Come on. Then for land space, how to get a permit? It will be from, you know, to set up greenhouses. That's not done for aquaculturists. So, you know, a swamp of problems in this area. And what I'm addressing here is, let's try to make practical, like, you know, for example, an experience from Portugal. How did they manage to get their land permit would help me a lot if I come to our guys doing land permits. They did it that way in one European country. Those kinds of things could be the best way to, you know, mingle around the regulation. But regulation is really complex. So that's everything that I wanted to say.
I agree. Regulations are complex. I understand completely what you are talking about. Even I'm at one facility. I'll not tell now where. They are not registered at all. They are not in the Ministry of Agriculture. They went to the Ministry of Economy, but they are not in Ministry of Agriculture. Simply, they didn't know that they have to. Algae are still not something what a lot of people understand. This is what I met when I started as a border veterinary inspector. Simply, you have some feed that nobody knows, and it is better not to see while it is not sold. For animal feed, there is it is a hygiene package at the level of EU, and we have hygiene rules for animal feed. And we have also maximal permitted levels of these contaminants in feed. But when someone takes algae, then simply they don't understand. It was the same story with recirculation, with aquaponics, and now with algae. And then it will be again problem with as we are developing different new products, for example, apple chips with chlorella. It will come now what to do with this, because we have to find a way how to preserve it and then to present it. And actually, this is yes, you told voluntarily. I completely agree with you, because we have to do this. It is our interest, and maybe experience from Portugal will help us, or we all can share experience, because I told you in Croatia, every county has different opinion about recirculation. If we look into marine, because everything is in marine law at the level of European Union, what aquaculture is, it is algae farming. And there is a day when all of them will understand this. And so you have Yeah, this is, but it will take time. And of course that farmers cannot do this alone. And it takes money, maybe it, not maybe, it for sure influence feasibility of the algae facilities because they spend money walking left and right, up and down with different ministries and administrative work. We don't know. And then how, because we can try, but we can give advice.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely right. So, I mean, the result is we as an industry have to organize. Nobody will do it for us. That's the rule.
That's always, because in ministry you have to answer. Maybe it is now stupid, it is like a joke, but I don't know, 5-6 years ago, I came with 3 clear culture, pure cultures, and I brought it in my suitcase from US, from mine. And I came to the custom, of course, that I didn't have papers, and it was inappropriate. So it was, okay, if I declare it, it would be a problem because they sent me to New Orleans from mine and I couldn't ask for the papers, phytosanitary procedure and so on. And I came to Zagreb and custom officer asked me, what is this? And I told him algae. Algae, do you need papers for this? I thought, no, do you know algae are so healthy, so good, omega-3, did you hear for that? You don't know, and he wanted to be smart and told, yeah, yes, I know everything, okay, go. And then another woman, custom officer, okay, what is this? And he told her, you are stupid, you don't know what are algae. You, madam, can go. This is how it works because nobody knows what to say in the ministry.
This was kind of a very interesting and fruitful
Yes.
discussion. Robert, thank you for the bottle. I strongly agree, and I also think as you that it's all on our own to change the world we are living in. So yes, we are the change we want.